Welcome to Purple Pathways, where I'm learning and growing alongside you. I'm your host, Sophia, and we have a very special guest today, Mr. Krishna McKenzie from India. Welcome, Krishna. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very fine. I feel very happy to be here with you. Thank you for your warm invitation.
I'm so happy to be conversing with you today. Could you please tell us about yourself?
So I live in the international township of Auroville in the in South India, in the state of Tamil Nadu, and I've lived here for 31 years. I was a student in the Jiddu Krishnamurti School in England. I had a very eclectic and privileged education where I was not forced or pushed into becoming anything in particular. I was left and offered a lot of space to inquire into the more, you could say, existential questions of life, and also that mirrored in the actual sort of curriculum that I created for myself, which was I was doing research in genetic engineering in a lab in the school. I was studying jazz guitar because I'm a musician. I was also doing a lot of theater, and I was also helping run the garden. So it was very eclectic, and all of those things, except actually for the genetic engineering, I've continued in my life. But I was 4 years at that school, and then when I was 19, I left and I came directly to live in Oroville. I dived into a very simple lifestyle, exploring local foods, how to grow local foods, the cultural, nutritional heritage. And over the years, that narrative has grown into something that's receiving a lot of affection. You could say, from actually a lot of the Indian diaspora, around the world are really. I think they really feel it. They feel my work, which we can go into in a bit. And that work is based on, like, if we really want to sum it up, as an introduction, it's based on understanding that any culture that emerges on this planet emerges because a society has a relationship with Mother Nature and knows where its food comes from. Farm to plate restaurant we have on our farm, on this in the Solitude Farm, we we're able to explore the vast sort of diversity of the fabric, if you like, of the nutritional cultural heritage of Tamil Nadu, and we feed those foods to people all the time. You start to realize that actually what you're doing is not permaculture or even natural farming. What you're doing is you're honoring a cultural identity. You're honoring Mother Nature. This is a reclamation of cultural identity. You could say it's a cultural redemption, foundational subject for everyone. Because without food, there's no body. Without body, there's no language. There's no language. There's no culture. There's no. We lost our humanity. So I think everyone relates to the subject. Everybody. It's so essential, so foundational. I think that slowly people realize that, wow, yeah, actually, all the answers are already there in our culture. And I think that really touches people a lot.
That is so beautiful. I'm so glad you shared this story of your different experience from genetic engineering to farming and jazz music. Now I'm getting curious. Is there any particular experience that just made you fell in love with connecting with nature and food and things like that after you moved to Oroville?
I actually think it happened already when I was in England. I think the very deep connection I felt with the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and and what Krishnamurti is talking about, and Advaita. I think that's been with me from the beginning, from a young age, and that's led me, that sort of inner exploration of what does it mean being, what is the essence of this existence? Who am I? Like Ramana Maharishi would ask, who am I? Naan yaare, So I think those type of questions are actually the substrata of any of this, this work. I think that's what's driven me all over these years. And the more I've gone into it, of course, I've had my own moments where I feel the divinity in Mother Nature, and I recognize, this soil is Mother Nature. It is Bhumidev, as we call her in India, or Gaia, or in South America, she's known as Pachamma, no? So I think that's the most powerful experience is to realize that in your being that this sort of sense of oneness actually is reflected in nature. Like Mother Nature, she doesn't have any concepts, ideals, opinions, beliefs, or an agenda. She has no economics. No, she doesn't care if you eat the mangoes or I do, if they rot, or if they germinate into mango trees. She has no direction. She's without direction. I mean, this is a bit sort of spiritual, like almost what I'm talking now, but actually the root of the work, the basis of the work is 100% practical. It's all about honoring the food that grows. But actually, its roots lie in what I was just saying before, in honoring, Gaia, Mother Nature, Bhumidev.
Like you said, it's unconditional love from Mother Nature. It's amazing that you are driven towards your purpose from the beginning, towards connecting towards Mother Nature. I've seen your videos about so many herbs and spices, and now it's getting used into different forms like soaps, and you're spreading the word in different formats. Could you tell more about your work that you're doing currently?
In Oroville, we have this sort of co-op, which is called the Food Link. And we used to bring things to the co-op in the early years in the farm, no, when we were just learning and setting out. And then, you'd grow bottle good, you have 30 kilo bottle good, you'd bring it there and they'll say like, no, people don't want it. And you say, well, why not? Because they want zucchini. But zucchinis don't grow here. Yeah, but they want zucchini. And so you're like, oh God. And then it's the same with, people don't want tapioca, they want potatoes, but potatoes don't grow here. So you started to understand that there is a loss of a cultural nutritional heritage. And you started to understand that, the Tamil people are, as I think many cultures, are very proud of their culture. And that culture actually lies in that cultural identity. It lies in the knowledge of where those foods come from. It lies in the soil and the seed and the plant. That is the sacred heart of nature. The rediscovery of that lies in the palate, in eating. Like if you come to live in, I mean, if someone comes like me to live in Tamil Nadu, I mean, the first thing I would encourage them to do is to find out about local foods like banana flour. It's so delicious. There's a certain process that you have to know how to cook it, which is a cultural knowledge. And it has a lot of medicinal values, as does many, 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 many of the other plants. This the foods that we're growing here, they are the very fabric of Ayurveda. This isn't just a farm, this is a pharmacy. I think that as you go into this subject, you start to see that Tamilians are really proud of their culture. And actually, they are proud of all these traditional things, but they're sort of forgetting them because they, have to get the C++ job in Infosys and this and that. I think people slowly waking up to that fact, that understanding local foods is really the key, because local foods reflect their cultural identity. And local foods, I mean, if I can go on a little bit longer on this point, local foods have very particular characteristics. Sorry, that's our UPS beeping in the background because there's power cut. Local foods and the characteristics of local food are very particular. The first characteristic of local food is that it grows easily. And if it grows easily, that means that it grows everywhere. So it's in abundance. Something that's in abundance is non-exclusive, as opposed to something like pizza that's completely exclusive to you have to have money to have pizza. The second characteristic of local food is that it has no carbon footprint. It's growing outside your door. So there's no lorry constructed, there's no hundreds and hundreds of factories to build a lorry, including the oil rig, the refinery, the tanker, the pipes, the nuclear power station, the factories for the paints, the plastic, the engine, the metals. None of that's needed because the food grows outside your front door, outside your back garden. Then, of course, the high medicinal and nutritional value, as we've already mentioned. And then there are many, many, many other small values, technical values, and particular characteristics of local food. For example, like, you go in a shop and you buy bananas, you get bananas. But you go to Mother Nature, first she gives you a banana flower, then she gives you banana, then she gives you banana stem, which is good for your kidneys. And then she gives you banana leaves, which you can do a whole bunch of things with. So, Mother Nature wants us to be well, but due to the economic attribution of, monetary attribution to food, we only value one part of it, the part that you can pack easily and sell easily. And, so in this case, bananas. And many of these plants are like that. You can use the bark, the seed, the flower, the leaves, the fruit, the vegetable. Within that knowledge, you see the seeds of a civilization.
It's not just a natural farming, but a pharmacy. It saves the environment. And when you said it grows easily, that itself sounds so less stressful. If you want to mention any medicinal properties that comes on top of your mind.
Well, right today I was just showing one young lady who has started working with me with the volunteer program. I was showing her tipoli. So tipoli is pippa longum in Latin, and it's a long black pepper. We use the leaves in salads and chutneys, and we use the peppers in the rasam and in different preparations. And we also dry them and sell them as a powder. We're making capsules with them right now with turmeric, neem leaves, and the long black pepper. And it's such an amazing plant because it grows in the full shade, like full shade where nothing else will grow. It's dark. This plant thrives. And you're like, wow, that's a technical value. And then you see it has a medicinal value, but it also has a culinary value. And it has a very good economic value. And it grows from a cutting. You just push it in the wet ground and it'll grow. And you're like, well, it grows so easily. And yet people are forgetting it because we don't relate to the land anymore for our food. Everything is defined by the coin. The coin defines the nutritional and profile of our society, the nutritional and thus the health of our society. Whereas societies that are a little bit slower, that they relate to the land, they still have that connection. I think that there are deeper social bonds in those societies. There is still celebration in those societies. Traditions and culture are much more alive in those societies. I think places like England and America, there's a huge, I'm sorry to be in India commenting on American politics, but there seems to be an extraordinary fragmentation in the society. But I believe, truthfully, and I've thought that for many years, that is because that in a society like in America or England and many other countries, the population has lost a common thread, and that common thread is food. That common thread is knowing where the food comes from and our collective need for it and our collective endeavors to nurture that collective need and work together to preserve it and preserve seeds and share seeds and have those recipes and all those. I think that's probably what makes our work so unique, is that we really are talking about cultural redemption. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a reclamation of cultural identity, which we perceive emerges directly from the soil, the life in the soil, which is, using a Sanskrit term, which is the Shakti of the planet. The soil is the Shakti, is the Prakriti, the mother force, the mother nature, Gaia, Pachimama. So that life in the soil is that energy, that is that divinity. Life is divinity.
Thipli, because you brought up Thipli. My first, the video I saw that you were explaining about Thipli, and I started using it in Rasam, remembering my grandmother used to use that. And so thank you for spreading these cultural redemption to connect back with our food and the recipes. If you want to give a little tip so we can grow something in the backyard, because I'm inspired that these things grow so easily, what would you suggest if we want to start something growing?
So I would suggest that people, like when you look at urban gardening, people always start trying to grow tomatoes and beans and stuff. But I would start to try and explore edible weeds, because edible weeds grow without any effort. They have the highest medicinal nutritional value of all the plants, and there's no knowledge needed to grow them. They just grow. And if we go into nature, into a back garden or to a on a hedge in a school campus or somewhere, invariably you will find edible weeds. The knowledge how to use them is not there. That's the thing. So probably you need to join forager groups, permaculture groups, and find out what grows easily. Find out what's simple to grow, and what's because it should be easy. If something is difficult, you see, I believe, although of course I wasn't there thousands of years ago, not in this body, but I believe that societies and civilizations emerged because there was a relative ease at growing food. If food was very, 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 very difficult to grow, I don't see how the Tamil culture, with its Bharatnatyam, Carnatic music, its temples, its language, its poetry, its our handicrafts, and it's the esoteric texts and the things like the thumbprint astrology, Nadi Jadagam. I don't see how those things could have emerged. People had access to food. And I think that must be a common rule for all civilizations, that food was not so difficult to grow, or at least at least that, there was certain ease at getting food.
I could relate to that. I mean, the way you're explaining, I feel food is the base for our thinking capacity to be creative, and all the other civilization came through that. It really hits me on, like, it's not only good for physical health, but also mental health, creativity, and
Yeah,
civilization as a
for sure.
whole. I see a workshop coming about permaculture. Do you teach about what can be grown or about food? What is it about?
Yeah, we start the permaculture workshops at Solitude Farm with lunch. It always starts with lunch, and I say to people, why else would you have come here if it is not to learn about growing food, or accessing food? So I say to them, eat the lunch, and I explain them the lunch, and they get all inspired. Then we go around the farm and we start harvesting things, and we come back to the kitchen with loads of edible weeds and edible flowers and, green papaya and sweet potato leaves and all sorts of stuff. And we make an extraordinary salad with it. We add a bit of peanut powder, coconut, some lemon, some salt. And if there's lots of Indians, we put a bit of chili in there as well. We have these incredible salads, and people are like, did I just harvest that? And I say, yeah, you just harvested all that stuff, and all that stuff grew as pretty much weeds, or without much effort. And there, when they eat it, and the delight in the taste, and that feeling of like that rasa, that how to say, it's like that prana, that life energy. There's the education. You people are converted there, then and there, and then they're ready to start, making efforts to grow and see what else they can do, and so that with the permaculture workshop always starts with food, harvesting, cooking, and then we go into circle gardens, kitchen gardens, urban gardens, field modules. We also look at making our own soap. so that we stop polluting the water. We make our own bioenzyme, and we look at seeds, we look at Ayurvedic powders and the nursery. Yeah, a whole bunch of things. It's a very intensive workshop. And we also have that workshop now on Saturday mornings, like a mini version where we, because not everyone can come for a weekend. And yeah, just get people involved.
It's not only just food, but skincare and how you connect to nature, just instantaneously feeling alive.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. It's all, I mean, you look at all the different aspects of our existence and our embodiment, it all comes from the soil and the interaction of microorganisms and molds and bacteria and insects and earthworms, fungi, the mycelium, small animals. The life in the soil is the fertility of the soil, and the fertility of the soil is the Shakti, is the Bhumidev, is the Gaia, Pachimama. So, we emerge from that. We emerge as beings from that and the sunlight, that. So it's quite amazing, this play of our great mother.
That's beautiful. So, how do you feel, if I may ask, when you're out in nature in sunlight, touching the soil? It helps with your stress level, or how do you feel?
For me, it's very natural. I'm always barefoot, like always. I have to remember to put something on if I go in the city. Like today, I went in the city. I don't even bother to put something on because I know I'm only going for a few hours. If I go for a few days, I might put something on. I'm just very connected. We're humbled in front of her, really. We're blessed to be part of this. We can't say that I made this farm. No way. You can't say that. You can say that you were blessed to participate in the emergence of this beautiful space. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from our workshops and my narrative is that I don't have a university degree. I came here before while all my friends were at college. It's not that, it's not a cerebral cleverness that will help you with this. It's rather, as my guru Fukuoka, who inspired all my work, Masanobu Fukuoka, the author of the One Straw Revolution. He said only a fool will understand nature. It's the clever man like Elon Musk. I mean, I hope he doesn't hear this because he'll probably come and find me. But he's a smart guy. But he put a car on a rocket ship and sent it to outer space. It's amazing, and we're all proud of that type of AI and microchips, and all the we spend years studying and to become clever at this. But if we're so proud of our cleverness and our intellectual cerebral achievements, we have to ask why there's no water left in Chennai or any of the cities in India or in England or in America or in Germany, in Italy. There's a huge loss of well-being, and that is like I think that's a direct relation with all the so-called achievements, which are all focused on monetary gain.
The world is going towards technology and AI and all these inventions. But if we could really balance by connecting back with our mother nature, that would be that perfect balance that we all should look for. You said about jazz and music. Could you tell more about how you're experiencing that in current situation?
So I studied jazz and guitar, and but I wouldn't call myself a jazz guitarist. I'm not like sort of like Wes Montgomery or something like that. I rather write sort of my own music. I'm a songwriter. I tell stories. That's always been with me. I've always been writing music since I'm young. I've always had bands as a young teenager, and I've always played with good musicians. I've always had the grace, even if I'm not necessarily the best of all of them, but I've always had great musicians with me. Like my previous bass player worked with Ray Charles. Is like, and many of the other musicians I met. They've played with this one and that one. They're really good. So I love quality in music, in making something really good. I have a band called Emergence, and we played in Washington, D.C., in the Maximum India Festival in the Kennedy Center. And we played in the Glastonbury Festival in England, and we played in Singapore and TV here and there, and documentary and festivals. And now we've done 3 albums, and now we're just started to do our 4th album. I came back from Hyderabad yesterday, where I'd spent 4 days doing what we call the scratch tracks, the bass tracks for the rest of the album, of the voice, the vocals, and the guitar. Then I have a trumpet player who is I started working with, who's going to fly in from Germany just for this project. So he'll come in the beginning of August. And then my bass player, he's 26 years old, and he's one of the most extraordinary musicians that I know. He's quite extraordinary, and a very wonderful person with extraordinary depth to him. So he's the producer and the bass player, and he does some things with guitar as well. He's actually a very good guitar player. And then there's a New York drummer, but who's based in Chennai, and he's also very good, very top jazz drummer. Yeah, so that's me. I love working with good musicians and playing shows, and I'm still knocking away at, music's like that. You can't give up. You have to keep on working away, because it's a tough industry. Getting the concerts and making sure you can pay your musicians, and the funds needed to record an album. It's a challenge to get them together. So actually, for this album, I mean, I can plug it briefly. Maybe is we're doing a crowdfunding campaign. Yeah, we're just trying to raise the funds for the album. It's like you need about $5,000, and there's $1,000 for the mixing, and then there's money for the musicians and the travel and the this and the that and the recording. And yeah, so if anyone is interested, listen to my music. There are 3 albums on Spotify. Maybe you can share them with your audience, and if they dig it, make a contribution. And there's loads of like gifts and giveaways. We're doing it with this crowdfunding campaign platform called Indiegogo.
That's wonderful. I would definitely share in my show notes. And I'm intrigued because you said you write songs. Is there a connection because you're so connected with nature? You're out there writing songs. Do you think that's helping you to be so creative in music as well?
I think there was a time, like now I'm become too busy. When I'm less busy and I'm with the nature, I need some vacancy, because the songs, they're not like clever, they land on my head. So it's that sort of space.
It's not a clever thing. It comes from your heart. It just lands on
Yeah.
your head. That's wonderful. How we can support the cultural reclamation that you're doing.
Well, I mean, not to go on too much about the music, but I do think that people tend to see, oh, that's the farm and that's music. But I think I feel the music is like an adhesive, in the society, and it brings people together. I would actually go as far to say that celebration is the golden key of permaculture. It's the thing. Like I do a lot of sort of work with other people and helping them start projects, and I say to all of them, the first thing you need to do is make a festival and invite everyone from far and wide, and dance and sing and eat food together. And that's what will be a catalyst for your project. So I see that the music is really a massive part of that. Although people don't tend to think of it like that. They think of music as being something on the side, but you know traditionally I don't think it was seen so much like that.
You're so right. I'm even here. We have this cultural festival, and it's not a separate, like a music is separate and food is separate, or like I said, mental health is separate. It's all like intertwined. And I believe that people do get drawn towards entertainment. So music is definitely, it connects to their soul, and they come and they experience this wonderful connection with nature, if I'm hearing it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That is wonderful. Any inspirational that you want to leave for our listeners today?
I mean, I think for the sake of your children, I know you have a lot of mothers in your audience. I think for the sake of your children, we have to question ourselves. We have to ask ourselves questions and doubt ourselves and explore, people like J. Krishnamurti and Nisargadatta and, Ramana, and also Fukuoka and permaculture, and maybe veganism, for some people, like explore things, explore other possibilities, because industrialized food is killing us and the planet. And we have to find that thing that will spark an energy in us to make a change.
That is so powerful. You rightly said, for the sake of our children, we don't want to be in this autopilot, just following whatever is being presented to us, but just question and learn and explore and connect and do what's right.
Yeah, definitely.
Krishna, thank you for your time so much today. And I would love to share your links in my show notes, and have a wonderful day.
You have a wonderful day, and I'll have a wonderful night.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Thank you so much.